Welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shira.
Hi, I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The People's Journey. We are so glad that you are here today.
Yes, and we'd like to welcome our
Hello.
guest, Eden.
Hi,
uh,
Eden.
Hello.
Eden is a breast cancer survivor who specializes in holistic modalities such as self love, sound healing, guided meditation, which I've seen you do. It's amazing. Incorporating self love expression through art and utilizing holistic modalities has been a huge factor in her healing process. It was a huge revelation through these tough times that she wasn't truly living her life to the fullest. She was not living her true, authentic self, not realizing it could be taken away from her at any moment. And of course, today you are here to share your wonderful story with us on how you gained those experiences and because of those experiences where it led you to today.
Oh
So
my gosh,
welcome, welcome.
Eden, I am so excited that you're here. I
I
just
know.
had to say, I've been looking forward to getting to know you better. And thank you so much for joining us today to share your story.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here. Oh my gosh. I'm honored.
Oh, fantastic. So, Eden, why don't you tell us a little bit about like where you kind of started off? Like, where were you at before, you even thought about spirituality or the even terms and all the things that kind of roll along with it?
Oh, girl. I don't even think we have enough time, but long story short, I was not living my life. And cancer pretty much woke me up in every sense of everything imaginable. I was codependent. I was a worrywart. I was a workaholic. And I was a machine. And I really thought I was living. I thought I was healthy, not even close. Mentally, physically, spiritually, none of those things. And so when I got cancer and I was going through my battle with cancer, it woke me up to everything. And I realized that I was dying, and cancer and getting cancer and going through all of the horrible things that you have to go through pretty much saved my life. Like
Wow.
it really woke me up to everything.
And how old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 31.
Wow, so young.
Yeah. My
How
goodness.
scary. Like, how did you feel?
Honestly, it kind of seemed like a dream. It didn't really seem real to me. And when my doctor told me that I had cancer, it was almost kind of like I just put on this shield and was like, let's go, bring it on. And I don't even really know how I did it. Like people are like, how did you get in that headspace to where you were like so strong? And I was like, it was just an automatic button where I was just like, beep, let's go. Bring it
Wow.
on.
Wow.
And the doctor was crying. And I was just like, okay, let's get this going. And it wasn't until I was like driving home and I was like, what just happened?
Holy
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
cow.
So yeah, it kicked me into gear and with everything in life. And I was a medical assistant at the time.
Mm.
And I went down the holistic road and never came back because I realized how toxic everything in my life was.
What was the first thing that you started, looking into?
Essential oils.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really started doing all of the research on how toxic everything was, like the products
Mm.
in my home, the makeup
Mm.
that I was using, deodorants, because that's a huge, huge thing. The breast cancer community, we learn about deodorant and how toxic these things are. And so from food to products to everything. And so I did what I call a ditch and switch. And
Mm.
so I just ditched all the chemicals in my home and switched to plant-based essential oils, like everything natural. And it was life changing in a
Wow.
good way. It was amazing.
So you started changing a lot about your physical environment. What about like your mental environment as well?
Oh gosh, yes. And that kind of was a slow progression.
Mhm.
I automatically went into that really annoying positive, like, everybody has to be happy and positive, and because I really thought that was the key. And I realized that was just kind of like a defense. And
Mhm.
then I switched over to like really learning about mental health in the process, because I ended up becoming a mentor to other women who were younger than me
Oh my
in the cancer
gosh.
community. And it was really kind of from their experiences, like their stories, that I realized that I was kind of looking in a mirror
Wow.
and realizing that I was just going about things all wrong. Like, positivity is incredible and it's wonderful and it's really good for you. And you should absolutely strive for that. But being in that state all the time is also not healthy. And the whole cliche, like it's okay to not be okay,
Yeah.
is huge. It's so
Yeah.
important. And that's where kind of like the self-love came into play. And I was like, okay, I really have to like hone in on my mental health just as much
Yeah.
as the physical part of it.
Being able to look at those, you know, lesser desirable things to relook at. Yeah. And start to heal deeper things.
Facing
Mhm.
like the dark shadows that you don't want to
Oh,
face.
yeah.
Wow. Wow.
This call feels like a blessing to me just because these are two beautiful women that during my discovery of cancer, you two were actually my biggest support system.
Mhm.
And so I got firsthand experience of what it was like for you to assist me, Eden. Um, and all of the information that you provided as well, with Carrie's help as well. Uh, so where do you feel like you're at kind of now from then? Like if you went and looked back at yourself, like where do you feel like you're at now when it comes to like your spiritual journey?
Oh gosh. It's like I'm a totally different person. And I still kind of almost feel like I'm living in that twilight zone where I'm like, is this real?
Right.
Is this really who I am? Because I'm on such a higher frequency, right? I'm on that
Mm.
higher vibration. And in the process, I'm learning about those physical things, right? The actual vibrations, the
Yes.
actual frequencies
Yes.
that we put ourselves on when we are getting into that higher space of truth and pure happiness.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my gosh, and it's amazing, it's incredible. I sometimes feel like, have you had those moments where you're like, do I really deserve this? Because
Yep.
this seems so crazy to me. But yes, you absolutely do deserve it. Like you earned it.
Yeah.
You have
Wow.
earned it, sister.
Yeah.
You got through a lot of stuff to get to exactly where you are
Yes.
right now. Yeah. Very true.
So tell us more about like that deeper dive into your spiritual journey and even recognizing your connection with source.
Oh gosh. Wow. That's actually what got me into the sound healing
Mm.
and into that place of teaching others how to give themselves the self love and guided meditation and things like that. It, I never thought that I could actually do something for a living that gave me such incredible, I don't even know what the word is for it, but just gives me such joy and happiness to be able to give back to others. Because when I was going through my battle, I am not the type of person that receives very well. So it's really
Yeah.
humbling
Yeah, I know that
to
one.
actually be forced to like sit down and take help, because
Mm.
I was like, I can do this on my own. I don't need help. And I realized, yes, you do need help. And this is going to be a tough battle for you. And so then I was like, okay, well, how I'm going to pay these people back for all the things that they've done for me? You can't, it's impossible. And they don't expect you to. So then when I was on the other end, giving back to all my friends, I would be in this situation saying, you don't owe me anything. I don't expect anything from you. And then I was like, oh, there's that light bulb. Okay, I see you now. I definitely, and then of course I tell them, I'm like, you'll be in my shoes. Just wait. You'll be in my shoes and you'll see it and the light bulb will come on and you'll know. And so now it's become my passion to pay it forward, because that's the only way that I can give back, is paying forward. And it's also kind of survivor's guilt is a very, very big thing in this community. It is a very, very hard thing to go through. I just celebrated my 11-year cancerversary in remission.
Yay.
And it was a whirlwind of emotions. And sometimes you feel like a crazy person, because like 1 second you're so happy and you're elated and you're just like, oh my God, I'm alive. It's like a second birthday. And then 1 second later, you're bawling your eyes out and you're like, I should not be celebrating this because my friend is fighting for her life. Or, I have umpteen friends who are now angels above. And so it's very, very hard to celebrate that sometimes. But I also know that they would want me to celebrate. So it's a mind fuck. It really messes with you. And so you go through these like emotions of that. And so because of the survivor's guilt, that also gives me that push and that motivation to, help others and in that way. And now it's my job and it's amazing and fun.
Wow.
That's so cool. It's so cool that you do that.
You got to see both sides of the situation. Like it's incredible as far as a gift.
Oh gosh.
To see the perspectives and realize the beauty in each side of it, the love that is just pouring out.
Yes. I always say it's tragically beautiful and beautifully tragic.
That makes so much sense.
It's that combination of like, it's heart-wrenching and it's sad and it's beautiful and amazing. It's like all of these things all at once. It's hard.
It's hard.
Wow. So what are some of your other like healing modalities that you've, studied?
So right now I'm really, really big into sound healing, and I love doing the crystal bowls and the guided meditation. And I really enjoy helping other cancer survivors get through their journeys and find that self-love through that journey, because it's a very, very difficult thing to do. Because another thing that I learned the hard way, when you are actually the cancer survivor, you end up having to be strong for everybody else. So your family's like sad and breaking down and terrified that they're going to lose you.
Yeah.
And you have to be like, I'm strong, I can get through this. And you have to put on that face, because if they see you, crying or sad or hurting, then they're like, I don't know what to do. They feel helpless. And so then I was on that end as a caregiver. And again, I understood. I was like, oh my gosh, like it's almost as hard to be a caregiver as it is to be the survivor, because you literally can't do anything. You're just watching your people suffer.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of have to like learn how to go through those emotions. And so when you have these modalities, especially the holistic modalities for me, because it's such a natural process, right? There's so many, and I have nothing against the Western side of things, because, it helped save my life.
There's a time and a place.
Yeah, but not unless I absolutely have to, because there's so many side effects of that, that you have to deal with.
And so many
And
fillers in there too.
oh, it's
Yeah.
insane. And so when I started on the holistic journey, it like my body is just like, thank you. You know, and when I'm putting things in my body I shouldn't, it's like screams at me. Like, asshole, what are you doing? Like, I'm like,
It's
but this is so good.
It's so delicious.
That one's a purpose rather than, or a
Yes.
pleasure rather than a purpose.
Yes, yes. But I'm also learning to enjoy not having those indulgences and finding better alternatives,
hmm
you know?
Yeah.
And that can be a whole fun new exploration as well, finding different ways
Absolutely.
to enjoy your food that doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
That's something that to be said about when you start to go into the awakening of your self-knowing, right? That you become more sensitive or keenly aware of your reaction to certain things that are not great for you. And you make the conscious choice to ignore it, or you make the conscious choice to say, okay, that's not right for me anymore. Got it. I didn't know what that felt like. How was I so numb to that before? Or how did I ignore that? But now I'm like really keenly aware of it.
I think it's when you start creating deeper connections with your body.
Mhm.
You know, we're so
Absolutely.
distracted by external resources or sources all the time
Yeah.
that it and our body's so quiet until it's not.
Until it's not. Right.
Until it's like, I've had enough.
hmm hmm
Thanks, but no thanks.
hmm
But I also encourage people that I'm working with to give themselves grace,
Yeah.
because we're also really hard on ourselves when we fall
Mhm.
from that higher
Expectation.
frequency and expectations and vibrations, and when we're like down here and like, oh, I had that cheesecake, or I did this, or I did that, and then you're like, oh, you idiot. And we are hard on ourselves because we also instill that fear. You know, as cancer survivors, we, you know, like sugar, for instance, that's my kryptonite. And I know that that's an evil entity that fuels, you know, our nemesis. So it's like, okay, I have to give myself grace and not, because when you talked about the mental aspect of it, that's something that's really important. So if you're hard on yourself for falling from these things, then you start putting yourself in that mental state of despair and anxiety and stress and anger at yourself for not doing the things that you're supposed to be doing.
Did you find it?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry.
So just finding that balance and,
Yeah.
and allowing,
practicing kindness and compassion with yourself.
Absolutely.
Did you find it difficult to come off of doing things that you knew were causing harm?
Oh, every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I work part-time as a nanny, and you know, I'm in their little closet with all this beautiful smorgasbord of cookies and candies.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's a daily, it literally is. I'll catch myself and they're like, oh, don't grab the cookie. Just grab the little mandarin orange. It's over here begging for you to take it. And sometimes I don't, and I eat the crap and I suffer from it. And sometimes I eat the little orange instead, and I'm like, oh, I feel so good. You know, it's a daily battle. It's a daily battle.
The struggle's real. I know that
It
struggle.
is. It
I had that
absolutely
struggle
is.
earlier today.
But you slowly start to get better though. Like if you allow, like I said, if you allow the grace and you allow that balance to come into play, it starts to get easier and easier.
That's true. That's very true. I'm not there yet. I'm gonna get there one day.
Oh, 11 years later, and I'm still not there yet. So
Again, we're all still learning.
This is true. This is
That's
true.
what life is about.
What would you say is like your biggest aha moment that you felt that there was something so much more expansive than all that we've been taught?
I think it was honestly, it was kind of a slow progression for me. I think just looking back on, um, I'll kind of share this little personal thing because it's just what I do. But I was in a very toxic marriage at the time that I realized something was wrong. And I remember I was in a heated argument with my husband at the time. And I mean, not my finest moment. And I just remember it was like 2:30 in the morning and we were fighting and screaming. And I just fell to my knees. And I said out loud to him, I said, I cannot do this anymore. I feel like there's a cancer inside of me that's eating me alive, literally. And that was an aha moment for me that something needed to change drastically, because we get so content with our crap in our lives. I mean, 10 years in a toxic marriage. And so I moved out. That moment, I was like, okay, I'm out of here. I can't. And then like a month later, I was diagnosed with cancer. Like, my body was like, no, girl, something's got to change.
Like,
because
you felt
everything
that.
was toxic. My marriage was toxic. I was working 3 jobs. I was working for a doctor. We literally called him Dr. Evil. He was a terrible man. And, fast food in between my jobs, just everything about my life was toxic. And I was literally killing myself slowly in every sense. So that was probably one of my biggest aha moments in this whole scenario.
That's a huge one.
That's
for
crazy.
sure. Yeah. I can relate.
Yeah. It wakes you up. It really
does.
And I try to that's one of my things that I try to share with people. Like, don't wait until XYZ. Like, if you feel like you need some change, do everything you can to change, because
it's a lot easier to be proactive than reactive.
Oh,
I'm taking a lot of nuggets from this conversation right now.
well, and life is so beautiful, and we don't, like birthdays, for instance. Here was another one that I think that helped me spiritually and gained huge insight. And oh my God, I'm getting old. Another birthday. I hate birthdays. My birthday sucks because it's always how many of us do that? And now I'm like, birthday. I'm getting old. I'm like, I have a gray hair. This is amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's
Who would have
beautiful.
ever thought that was something that I would be excited about?
God, what a whole new perspective.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anytime I hear my friends talk about, oh my God, I'm like, hell yeah, it's your birthday. Hell yeah, you're getting old.
Being
That's an
excited
honor.
about having more time on this earth. Yeah.
Getting
having
old
more life.
is a privilege.
Absolutely.
It's an incredible privilege if we allow it.
It's this major appreciation. It just exudes off you, and I love that. That's awesome. I need to start taking notes.
Yeah. It just makes me think about the water and how it holds vibration, and being grateful for that, and how that lifts our body up. I mean, you were talking about it earlier about raising our vibrations.
Absolutely.
And it's just,
and to be more
so
connected
much.
to the earth.
Yeah.
That's our
There's
mother.
so much we can do.
She's taking such wonderful care of us, and we're just, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole.
We're just taking.
But
I'll leave it.
I am okay if you do, because I think
Staying
you two would love this.
Staying connected. Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Put your bare feet on the ground.
Exactly. Give back to her too.
Absolutely.
Send that appreciation back. Just love on her. Send her that energy.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. Oh, Eden. Tell me a little bit more about your sound, and I also kind of have some questions about maybe what your favorite essential oils are that you
Mm.
use and like how you use them, because you have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to that, and I definitely went to you quite a bit about those. So yeah, so tell me some more about that.
Oh gosh. Well, as far as the oils go, man, my favorite. I have so many. I use them for everything. And I switched out all of my candles, the plugins, all those things for little diffusers. And I love that because I'm especially now, I'm extremely sensitive to things.
Mm.
So before the chemo and all this crap that I went through, I wasn't sensitive. Like I had, what is it, Bath and Body Works, every flavor that you could possibly think of. I had the big juicy couture perfume
Mhm.
that I threw out.
Oh,
I'm
I
still
was
a
like,
little
oh.
upset. I'm still a little upset by it. But and now I use essential oils as perfume, and
Mhm.
I use things like that. And so um probably my favorites, I really enjoy the citrus oils because they're uplifting and they're invigorating. So wild orange is one of my favorites.
Yes.
So I really love that. But I make my own cleaning products with the oils and so many things. I could go on forever and ever. But
That's
you had a
amazing.
question. You asked me a question about sound. What did you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I wanted to hear a little bit more because I saw on your Instagram, and for those of you listening, Eden has a beautiful Instagram account at Eden's Love and Light. And you can actually see some of the posts that she has where she showcases these beautiful crystal bowls. And you've done performances here in Austin, right? You've gone and
Yes.
done performances in front of audiences with your crystal bowls.
That's
Yes.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
so wonderful. It's so wonderful. It just the like as we were talking about the vibrations and the frequencies, um, and back to Mother Earth, right? So these are crystal bowls, and the crystals come from the earth, and there's energy. Well, we all have energy, right?
Yes.
Everything is a vibration. We're
Mm.
vibrating right now. When
Mhm.
we're sleeping, our bodies are moving and vibrating. Like the earth is
Mhm.
constantly, everything is in motion.
Mhm.
And so, just like you were talking about the water, right?
Yes.
Like if you have frequencies of water and we have negative thoughts attached to it,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's not a good
Mm-mm.
thing.
Yeah.
So if we're putting out these beautiful emotions and thoughts out into the universe, especially when we have people that are surrounding us, that's super important. So like if you go to work and everybody's in a bad mood, you usually end up in a bad mood because it's just you pick up on the energy. Yeah.
Mhm.
So mindfully, on purpose, not just for yourself, but when you are around other people, to really be mindful of your thoughts. And
Mhm.
you know, I saw a thing where it was like if you wrote the words on your body that you said to yourself, would you
Mhm.
be pretty? No, you'd be ugly. But you're beautiful already. So why say those things? You wouldn't say them to your best friend. You would yell at your best friend for saying those, hateful words. So just being mindful of the things that you say to yourself and to others. And so I love doing the sound healing and meditation for others. It's incredible because it's just, you can feel with the crystal bowls, you can actually feel the vibration like right here when you're listening to it. It's incredible. It just puts
I
you in
just
such a
see all
state.
this energy like amplifying and like shooting up out towards the universe right now from, this crystal bowl and the people around it and the intentions behind it.
Yes, it's incredible.
That's beautiful. I love that. And then you think about like how those vibrations carry forth just from the individuals that you've impacted that day, and how it just continues and continues and continues, and it's never ending that way,
Yes,
which is
absolutely.
just
And the
awesome.
meditation that comes along with it,
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, is instinctive meditation is something that I really cherish, because it's you can do it anywhere. If you
Tell
just
me
take a
about
breath.
instinctive. That's just doing it for a moment and
Yeah,
just
listening to a child's laughter and being focused
Mm,
on that in
mhm,
the moment is a meditation. Or
mhm.
sitting there with your tea in the morning and smelling
Just
it, and
appreciating that.
like if you mindfully pay attention and you feel the warmth of the tea going into your system, and knowing that it's nourishing your body and giving thanks for the nourishment, like that's meditation. So there's such a meditation is very intimidating to a lot of people, because they're like, oh my God, I have to sit cross-legged. I have to shut my brain off. We can't have the monkey mind. And that's really not necessarily true. Now there's levels of meditation, right? Like, if you're a monk and you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're not in the Western world with jobs and kids and then okay, that's probably a meditation that would be a lot easier for you to do. But
Yeah.
in this state
So
that
real.
we're in,
It's so true. Oh
we're
my
like,
God.
I don't have time to breathe, but
Yeah.
you do have time to breathe, right? Like, we tell ourselves, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. But like sitting in traffic, right? And just taking a breath, right?
Mhm.
Looking over at the person dancing to the radio, and you're like, oh, okay. Just
It's fun. I like being that
honoring
person.
honoring that person and being like, okay, I'm just gonna take a minute to just enjoy that for a second. That's meditation.
That's awesome.
So it doesn't have to be like this perfect thing. And even if you're trying to be in that state, if you are trying to like get into that state, if you step out of it, that's okay. That's part of the meditation. Your mind is obviously needing to go through process something. So that's why
Have
a lot
some
of people tell
compassion.
you just come back to your breath.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
And I think connecting with
I'm
the
working
breath
on it.
is so
Yeah.
underrated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
So
even
you can
set
do
an
it.
intention today to try and connect with my breath, and it took me almost 6 hours to be like, oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes.
There's just so much. And so
There's-
I think it's really important. I completely agree with you to have just some compassion and kindness with yourself.
There's times throughout the day where I'll you know how when you're in such a mindset and you're go 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 go, and then the next thing you know, you're like, when was the last time I took a deep breath? And then you
Yeah.
do it and you're just like, oh my gosh. And you feel like you just ran a marathon and all you've been doing is sitting in a chair answering emails all day. Yeah, that happens.
Yes. Or when someone's like, relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw, and then you're like,
Yeah.
holy cow, I was like this.
The one that always gets me is drop the tongue from the roof of the mouth.
Yes.
And as soon as you do it, it's almost like your entire body is forced to go in a more relaxed state. And you're like, oh, I've had that tongue stuck up there all day long and I didn't even know it.
Even as I said, relax your shoulders, and all three of us went like this.
Like, oh. That's so
So
true.
funny.
We did. I was like, oh yeah.
In unison, ladies.
Even me, and I was the one saying it, like,
Oh my
gosh. This is great. So what are you still learning and working to incorporate and implement in your life, like spiritually?
I think my biggest thing right now is balance. Is finding
The
that
B word.
balance.
The
Yes.
B word.
And balance and surrender.
Yeah.
Surrendering to the things that we can't control, the things that happen to us.
Here's my mic.
These are
This
tough
is a pin,
times.
but I'm gonna just drop it.
I just like want to
Yes.
point.
These are tough times, right? Like, this is some serious mental states that we are having to go through right now.
Mhm.
And where many of us are having to Zoom instead of actually like be in person and hug.
Yes.
And
Yes.
connection is so important. And so we're having to work through these things. And so surrendering to all of the crap that's being thrown at our face all the time,
It's huge.
it's like constantly like, oh, wait,
The spider
oh,
webs.
there's another one.
Come off my
It's like
face.
constant. Yeah. So it's like, there's nothing that we can do about it except for, it's one thing I always tell my daughter. I've always told my daughter, it doesn't matter what happens. What matters is how you handle what happens.
Mhm.
And it's probably one of my most favorite sayings for myself
Mhm.
because, you know,
I
we
love
can
every
we
moment of
can
that.
we can be the victim
Mhm.
or we can
We
be the
can be the-
hero of our own story.
Yep.
So
Yep. Absolutely.
I love everything you're saying right now, just so we're
Yes.
clear.
100%. All right. So I think we've got 3 rapid fire questions that we wanted to ask you. So, first off, what is your favorite self care activity?
ooh, probably grounding in nature.
Mm-hmm.
I love trees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a tree hugger, literally.
And
I
she's
literally
so
hug
happy
trees.
about this.
I literally
Carrie
hug
just fell
trees
in love.
and talk to them. Yes,
Mhm.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. In fact, I had a neighbor one time who I was walking home and he goes, "Come here, I have a question for you." And I was like, "Hi," And he's like, "So it's a real thing, huh?" And I was like, "What is he talking about?" And he's like, those tree hugging people. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
I was caught hugging a tree.
I-
And he was like, "I saw you over there hugging that tree. I thought you were kind of a weirdo." And then I thought, maybe you're just one of those tree huggers. And I was like, I'm a real tree hugger. For
Yeah.
real. Yes. That's
So,
a real thing.
it's not just a saying. We do this.
So that's probably my favorite thing is
I
taking
love it.
my shoes off, putting my feet in the grass, giving thanks to Mother Earth and breathing in the oxygen that these beautiful
Mhm.
trees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I feel like God is in the trees. Like,
God is in everything.
I mean,
Mm.
how else can he hear us?
Yeah.
All of us.
Woman after my own heart. Mm.
I know. I was gonna say. I was like, oh my gosh, she's loving every minute of this. All right. You wanna go for the next one?
Okay. And what is one piece of advice you would now give to your younger self?
Living in the moment,
Mm.
living in the present, not focusing on tomorrow and not worrying about the past because you miss out on what's happening, And
Right
so I that's all that I was doing up until everything changed. And then I was like, okay, it's time to live for right now
Yeah.
because I may
There's
not have
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
There's definitely a reason they call it the precious present.
That's true.
Mhm.
Good.
Live the
Yeah.
dash.
The da-
Absolutely.
All right.
So what does self-love mean to you?
Oh, Lord, have mercy on my soul. So many things. So many things. Oh, gosh. Well, I guess it's different for everyone, right? But for me, I would just say, probably like I said earlier, like surrendering to the things that we can't control, finding that balance, giving yourself and others compassion and kindness, and finding me time, right? Finding
Yes.
that self
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, I'm going to read a book, don't bother me,
Mm-hmm.
or going and getting a pedicure, or having a spa day, something that you would just do just for yourself.
Yes.
Baths, take a nice bath with a Epsom and essential oil. You know.
Yes. Oh my
Love
gosh, that
it.
sounds blissful.
Love everything you're putting down right now.
Oh my goodness, Eden, this has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for participating in the people's journey. I honestly, as soon as Carrie and I discussed doing this, you were at the top of our list of people to
Oh,
invite. We wanted to hear your story and have you share it because it is one that is breathtakingly beautiful and so appreciative of everything that you do and all the people that you support and all the love that you give while doing that. So thank you.
Thank you. And I love what you guys are doing. I think it's amazing. And we need more of this. We need people
Absolutely.
who are sharing their beautiful light and truth and that's going to save the world. That's what's going to save the world.
Yes.
That love and compassion and kindness and finding the light and the truth.
That was our goal.
Thank you, Eden. Oh my gosh. I just feel I'm so grateful for getting to share this moment with you too. Again, I was really excited to get to know you better. And I just want to thank you so much for being so open and, vulnerable, because that really helps, share the information, let people know that they're not alone, and creates that, connection. And it's okay to talk about these things and reach out, and we're meant to support each other. So thank you so much, Eden, for being here today. It
Oh,
was
thank you.
such a pleasure.
It was an honor to be here. Thank you.
Y'all both.
You.
We're gonna
Namaste.
namaste. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Y'all have a lovely rest of your day.
And don't forget to love first.
Love first. Oh, shoot. Love.
What is our closing? What is our closing?
Don't forget to love first.
Love last.
And love always.
One of these days.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shira.
And until next time, remember to love first,
Love last,
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.